go up toward 30, I've heard. It's up for an appeal right now in the courts. I think it needs to, and I talked about this during the campaign, I think it needs to be relooked at. And if there's nothing that can be done for these communities that are impacted negatively, and they are impacted. So I guess my answer is I'd want to keep fighting it if it could be fought. But certainly, the communities right now shouldn't be picking up the bulk of the cost.
I mean, it's unlikely the Surface Transportation Board would ever overturn it, but you would say that you think CN...
It's not for certain, but it's unlikely.
And you think CN should be held accountable to pay mitigating costs of what
for
that can do?
virtually all of those mitigating costs.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't want to give up the fight yet, though I know you're probably right. Yes, sir.
Well, Mr. Walsh, one thing I'm worried about is inflation, because gold is $1,400 an ounce, silver is $30 an ounce now, oil is almost $90 an ounce now, and yet the Fed still keeps printing money to pay for Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, rewards, and all this stuff. So what happens when all the foreign countries that are lending us money realize that the dollar's going to default? Are we going to have a huge problem?
It's going to be a huge problem. The Fed shouldn't be printing money like they're printing.
So I think that should be like a really pressing matter, because that's what's going to be coming up pretty soon if we don't cut our spending like across the board completely. And also food inflation, prices of food are rising astronomically. And I think the main problem here pretty soon is going to be the Fed keeps printing money. Food prices are just going to keep rising. People aren't going to be able to afford it.
I agree. And it wouldn't at all be surprising to see another easing in a few months. The Fed printing even more money. It's a problem. John.
Congressman Walsh. It feels so good to say that, Congressman Walsh. Now, in the past 2 years, the current administration has moved the entire country so far to the left that it makes middle American people like us, you know, look like raving right-wing, clinging to their Bibles and their guns, okay? You ran on a Tea Party platform, I ran on a Tea Party platform. Now, we took the House, but we didn't take the Senate. So what are we gonna do coming from this seemingly, in the media, raving right-wing lunatics have taken over the House with these far-left Harry Reid in the Senate? How are we going to do anything other than Britain?
Well, I'm okay with that. Good luck can be a very good thing.
Well, it's good with stopping the leftward momentum.
Here's my 20-second crystal ball. Here's what's going to happen. Folks, thanks for coming. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you. Here's what I think is going to happen. And I said this during the campaign. I believe it. If Republicans go to Washington and we blow these next 2 years, and we don't do what we were sent there to do, we're going to get our butts run out of D.C. And I firmly believe, I'll say it with a smile, there's a revolution going on in this country. It's a beautiful thing. It's a revolution of Republicans and independents and Democrats who believe in freedom, and they're scared to death, with how much debt we're placing on our kids and our grandkids. And if Republicans don't stop that, the revolution's growing. So what will they elect in 2 years? I don't know, John. But they're going to continue to elect people who think like they do, whether it's a Republican, a Democrat, a third party, a fourth party, you name it. This thing is not to be stopped, and it shouldn't be stopped. And woe to any politician that tries to get in the way of it from whatever party you're from. What? I'm not going anywhere. Hey, I'll stick around for a little bit. If anybody needs to leave, leave. I don't know who's playing. By the way, how could you bring this tonight? They were so bad yesterday. I've been dying to do that. The Packers did lose. I like the Packers and the Bears. Question.
The oil moratorium that our president sold, put into effect in this bill,
power just to shut down oil drilling in the next 7 years without anybody's input. I mean, we need oil, unfortunately, we do.
Somebody help me.
Some of the biggest
I'm
deposits
drawing
are
a
in
blank.
Mexico.
He does have that executive authority. I'm forgetting what exactly it falls under, but there's nothing Congress can do. The president has that executive authority. The only way to change that is to put somebody else in the White House.
I think it's,
I'm forgetting it off-
because it's in the 12 mile.
No, it's not the EPA. It's not the EPA. It's, boom, Nick just said it. It's the mining and minerals. Yeah,
Usually it falls down to a state issue.
it falls under that, it's federal, not international waters. Yeah.
But shouldn't the state have a right to drill and its own resources? And its
Well,
own
that's a
state?
different question. Should they? I'd say yeah, but right
They
now,
do, you know.
currently they don't. Nick?
Do you think Leader Boehner and Republican majority will have hearings to find out the real truth on Freddie and Fannie and what caused the housing?
Yes. Yes, I think it's gonna be part of, I think you're gonna see hearings on Obamacare, and you're gonna see hearings on the financial reg reform that was passed. And the biggest issue they're gonna talk about and look into is Fannie and Freddie. You open up those books. Run for the hills. All right, it better be brief.
Two things,
What?
just 2 things. One,
Uh-oh, stand it out.
wish list, A, B, C. What's the first thing you would do, second thing you would do, third thing you would do?
Is this realistic or in my dream world?
Your dream world. Yeah.
My dream world?
Absolutely.
This is in trouble. My dream, he left me.
And then I have a question.
My
Not
dream
that I
world,
understand.
tomorrow, we have a super, super low flat tax. My dream world tomorrow, we have educational choice for every parent in the country. And my dream world tomorrow, we repeal Obamacare.
Secondly, I'll make a comment. I was with GE for about 20 years. I've been an independent businessman for about 15 years. With General Electric, most of their manufacturing facilities were vertical. They did everything in-house. Competition, however, started going outside the borders. So GE, we had to do the same thing. So we went to Mexico, we went to Europe, and all over the world, moved the manufacturing. The reason they did that is not because the salaries and wages, that was nothing. There's no capital gains taxes in Mexico and in Europe. There's no EPA in Europe. There's where the money's at. You talk about bringing jobs back to this
And the money's
country.
still there, and that's the cost of earlier, how
Yeah.
you bring the capital back.
The deal is, until you make adjustments here, they're running business out of this country. That's exactly what's happened. And so, until you make those corrections, General Electric's not gonna be running back into this country before it's with the EPA. You're talking about drilling for oil and get all the oil that's under us. If you got it out of the ground, the EPA will not let you build a refinery, period. So eat the oil, boys, because that's
We're
what you're
shipping
gonna have.
gasoline in here from Saudi Arabia
I'm
because we
gonna-
can't refine it
I
anymore.
promised you, I'm gonna go here and then there, I'm gonna go these three, and then I'm gonna close with a 45-minute presentation. I'm kidding. These three questions, and then I'll stick around as we leave for anybody who wants to ask a question. These have gotta be bullet questions. Go.
Hey, Mayor, I reckon that your first debate was why did you oppose it, and why do you support civil unions to go along with the civil unions accountability?
And I'll give you a bullet answer. My stance on gay marriage and civil unions. Very briefly, opposed to both. Why? I just think a society has a vested interest to hold aloft marriage between a man and a woman, and the benefits that society give that have to just be given to that institution. I don't see really hardly any difference between civil unions and gay marriage. I think civil unions is just a step toward that. But thank you. Question?
I don't know how to put it in bullet point form.
Oh, you don't have to.
I hear a lot about cutting spending, but for some reason the Department of Defense is always off limits.
Great question. Great question. And this is one question where you can say, Walsh, I got you. And you know what? you do. Defense, like any other department in government, should be looked at rigorously, and there should be cuts to make it more efficient, more cost effective. I'm with you on all that. You and I may argue about should we have been in Iraq, should we be in Afghanistan, separate issue, and we'd have an interesting discussion. But once there, in my mind, money's not a factor. In my mind, if we're there as a country, we do whatever we can to win, and again, complicated issue, but money does not become a factor when you got our men and our women over there fighting. So always look to cut and save money in defense, because there are a lot of outdated weapon systems. There are a lot of outdated ways we still fight wars. There are a lot more cost-effective ways we can do things. But once we're on the field engaged, money's not a factor. So our last questioner, because she's
This
had...
really is just a quick comment.
Quick comment.
What you said about what's going to happen in 2012. I think, at least for me, and I'm not a kid anymore, so I've been voting for years and years and years. And
We almost checked your ID, though.
I
You
know,
are pretty
I voted really good. Anyway, I think the people are so fed up with all of our politicians. They say one thing, they get elected, they go to Washington or they go to Springfield, they totally flip out and do something different. And I think every election cycle, we're going to have new Congress, we're going to have a new everything, because we're just going to unelect everybody every 2 years if it doesn't change. I mean, the people we send there have to do what we want, what we ask them to do.
Absolutely. And be encouraged, because I think a lot of this class understands that. I've never in my life seen an election like this. Never. Will we all stay true to what I'm telling you right now? No. I can tell you I will. And I think there are a lot of other people that will. Look, folks, I'll end where I began. Thank you all for your questions. I don't ever want to be in a room where people agree with me. I want to answer questions from across the aisle. I pledge to you, over the course of these next 2 years, you're going to be seeing a lot of this. Thank you for coming. Stay in touch. God bless. Have a good week.